I never thought I'd be that woman. You know, the kind you hear about in whispered conversations at Sunday brunch. The one people shake their heads at while secretly wondering if they'd do the same. But here I am, 63 years old, standing in my kitchen at 2 a.m, staring at my phone and waiting for a message from someone who isn't my husband. Let me tell you how I got here, because I need you to understand that I wasn't looking for this. I wasn't one of those women who felt trapped or unfulfilled. My life was good. Robert and I had been married for 41 years. 41 years of building a life together in our quiet neighborhood in Portland, Oregon. We had 3 grown children, 7 grandchildren, and a mortgage we'd finally paid off 3 years ago. I volunteered at the community center twice a week, hosted family dinners every Sunday, and took pride in the fact that our marriage had weathered every storm. But somewhere along the way, between the routines and the comfortable silences, I'd stopped being a woman and become just a wife. Just a mother. Just a grandmother. It started 6 months ago at my daughter Sarah's house in Seattle. She'd invited the whole family up for her youngest son's baptism, and the house was packed with relatives, friends, and people I'd never met before. I was in the kitchen, doing what I always do at these events, helping with the food, making sure everyone had what they needed, being invisible in the way that older women often are at family gatherings. That's when he walked in. His name was Daniel, and he was Sarah's new neighbor who'd been invited to join the celebration. He was probably in his mid-50s, with salt and pepper hair, and these incredibly warm brown eyes that seemed to actually see me when he looked at me. Not through me, not past me, but at me. If you're enjoying this story and want to hear more like it, help this channel grow by hitting that subscribe button. We're working toward 5,000 subscribers, and your support means everything. You must be Sarah's mother, he said, extending his hand. I can see where she gets her beauty from. I know. It sounds like a line, doesn't it? The kind of thing men say when they're being polite to older women at parties. But the way he said it, there was something genuine in his tone, something that made my cheeks flush in a way they hadn't in years. We talked for maybe 20 minutes that day. He'd recently moved to Seattle after his wife passed away from cancer 2 years earlier. He had a grown son living in Boston and was trying to figure out what the next chapter of his life looked like. He asked me questions about myself, real questions, not just the polite small talk people make at these things. He wanted to know what I liked to read, what I'd wanted to be when I was young, what made me laugh. When Robert came looking for me to leave, I realized I'd been standing in that kitchen corner for almost an hour, and I hadn't thought about checking on anyone or refilling any drinks or doing any of the 100 little tasks I usually assigned myself. I'd just been talking. Just been myself. Daniel asked if he could add me on Facebook to stay in touch, and before I could think about whether it was appropriate or not, I said yes. The messages started innocently enough. He'd send me articles he thought I'd find interesting, or photos of books he was reading. I'd respond with my thoughts, and we'd end up in these long conversations about everything from politics to philosophy to our favorite childhood memories. It felt harmless. It felt like friendship. But then the messages started coming more frequently. Good morning texts, late-night conversations when we both couldn't sleep. He started calling me beautiful, telling me how much he looked forward to talking to me, how I made him feel alive again in a way he hadn't felt since his wife died. Your subscription helps us reach 5,000 subscribers and keep bringing you these real stories. Just click that red subscribe button if you haven't already. And God help me, I loved it. I loved feeling seen. I loved feeling desired. I loved the way my heart would race when I saw his name pop up on my phone. I started taking my phone everywhere, hiding it when Robert walked into the room, deleting message threads so there wouldn't be evidence of how often we were talking. Robert noticed something was different. You seem distracted lately, he said one evening while we were watching television. Everything okay? I'm fine, I lied. Just tired. But I wasn't tired. I was more awake than I'd been in years. Every morning, I'd wake up with this flutter of excitement in my chest, wondering what Daniel would say to me that day. I started taking more care with my appearance, wearing makeup even when I wasn't going anywhere, buying new clothes that made me feel attractive instead of just appropriate. 3 months after we met, Daniel invited me to meet him in person. He was going to be in Portland for a business conference and wanted to have coffee. "Just coffee," he said. "Just 2 friends catching up." I knew I shouldn't go. I knew crossing that line from online messages to real-world meetings was dangerous, but I also knew I was going to say yes before I even finished reading his message. I told Robert I was meeting my friend Janet for lunch. Another lie to add to the growing collection. I spent 2 hours getting ready, changing outfits 5 times before settling on a blue dress that Sarah had bought me last Christmas, the one Robert had never commented on. We met at a little cafe in downtown Portland, the kind of place with overstuffed chairs and local art on the walls. When Daniel walked in, my entire body responded in a way that both thrilled and terrified me. He hugged me, and I could smell his cologne, feel the solidness of his chest, and for just a moment, I let myself imagine what it would be like to be held by him for longer than a polite greeting. We talked for 3 hours. The coffee grew cold. The lunch crowd came and went. And somewhere in the middle of a conversation about our children, his hand found mine across the table. I should have pulled away. I should have made an excuse and left. Instead, I laced my fingers through his and felt something inside me crack open. If you're invested in this story, please take a second to subscribe to the channel. We're so close to 5,000 subscribers, and your click makes all the difference. "I can't stop thinking about you," he said, his thumb tracing circles on the back of my hand. "I know this is complicated. I know you're married. But I need you to know that these past few months talking to you have made me feel like myself again. You make me feel alive." "I feel it too," I whispered, and saying those words out loud felt like jumping off a cliff. "I'm staying at the Hilton downtown," he said. "Room 412. I'm not saying you should come. I'm not asking you to do anything you're not ready for. But if you want to see where this goes, I'll be there until tomorrow morning." He left cash on the table for our coffees, kissed my cheek, and walked out of the cafe. And I sat there alone, my hands still warm from his touch, knowing I was standing at the edge of a decision that would change everything. I drove home in a daze. Robert was in his study, working on some project or another, barely looking up when I came in. I went through the motions of making dinner, setting the table, asking about his day. He told me about a problem at work, something about a client who was being difficult, and I nodded and made the appropriate sounds, but I wasn't really there. I was thinking about room 412, about Daniel's hand in mine, about what it would feel like to be wanted again, desired again, seen again. After dinner, Robert went back to his study. This was our routine now. He'd work until 10 or 11, then come to bed and fall asleep almost immediately. We hadn't been intimate in over a year. Not because of any big fight or problem, just because somewhere along the way, we'd stopped being lovers and started being roommates who happened to share a last name. I cleaned the kitchen, loaded the dishwasher, wiped down the counters, all while my phone sat in my pocket like a bomb waiting to explode. At 8:30, a text came through from Daniel. "No pressure. Just wanted you to know I'm thinking about you." My hands were shaking as I typed back, "I'm thinking about you too." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. And this was it. This was the moment. I could put down the phone, delete his number, and go back to my safe, predictable life. Or I could take a leap into the unknown and see if there was still fire left in me somewhere. "Give me an hour," I typed. I told Robert I was meeting Janet again, that she was having a crisis and needed to talk. He barely looked up from his computer. "That's fine. Drive safe." The guilt hit me as I pulled out of the driveway, but it wasn't strong enough to make me turn around. I drove to the Hilton, parked in the garage, and sat in my car for 15 minutes, talking myself in and out of going upstairs at least a dozen times. Help us reach our goal of 5,000 subscribers by clicking that subscribe button. Your support keeps these stories coming. But I did go up. I knocked on door 412. And when Daniel opened it and saw me standing there, the way he looked at me made me feel like I was 25 again instead of 63. What happened that night? I'm not going to give you all the details. This isn't that kind of story. But I will tell you that for 3 hours, I felt like a woman again. I felt desirable and wanted and alive in a way I hadn't felt in decades. Daniel touched me like I was precious. He looked at me like I was beautiful. He made me feel like I mattered as more than just someone's wife or mother or grandmother. When I left the hotel at midnight, I felt like a different person. The guilt was there, certainly, sitting heavy in my chest, but so was something else. Joy, excitement, a sense of possibility I'd forgotten existed. I started seeing Daniel whenever he came to Portland, which was about once a month. I'd make up excuses, meet him at the hotel, and for a few stolen hours, I'd get to be the version of myself that I'd buried under 41 years of marriage and responsibility. He never pressured me to leave Robert. He never made demands or talked about a future together. He just gave me these pockets of time where I could breathe and feel and be myself. But secrets have a way of eating you alive from the inside out. I started pulling away from Robert even more. I'd be physically present, but emotionally checked out, always thinking about my next meeting with Daniel, always comparing the way Daniel made me feel to the emptiness of my marriage. Robert tried to reach out a few times, suggesting we take a trip together or go to counseling, but I deflected. How could I sit in a marriage counselor's office and work on my relationship when I was sleeping with another man? My daughter Sarah started noticing something was off too. "Mom, are you okay?" she asked during one of our Sunday dinners. "You seem different lately, distant." "I'm fine, honey," I said, forcing a smile. "Just getting older, I guess. Lots on my mind." But I wasn't fine. I was drowning in a double life, and the worst part was that I didn't want to stop. If this story is resonating with you, help us grow to 5,000 subscribers. Just click that button and join this community. 6 weeks ago, everything changed. Daniel called me one evening, his voice urgent and excited. "I need to see you. Can you meet me tomorrow?" "What's wrong?" I asked, my heart racing. "Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. I'll explain tomorrow. Please just meet me." I told Robert I had a doctor's appointment and drove to our usual hotel. When I got to the room, Daniel was pacing, nervous energy radiating off him. "I'm moving to Portland," he said without preamble. "I put in for a transfer at work, and it came through. I'll be here permanently starting next month. I bought a condo in the Pearl District. I'll be 15 minutes away from you." My stomach dropped. "Daniel, I don't know if that's—" "I know this complicates things," he interrupted. "I know you're not ready to leave your husband, but I can't keep doing this from a distance anymore. I need you in my life more than just a few hours a month. I'm in love with you. I have been for months, and I think you love me too." He was right. I did love him. But hearing him say it out loud, knowing he was moving here, making our affair more permanent and real, it terrified me. "I need time to think," I said. "Of course. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere now." But time was exactly what I didn't have, because 2 weeks later, Robert found one of Daniel's messages on my phone. I'd gotten careless, leaving my phone on the kitchen counter while I showered. Robert's phone had died, and he needed to check something urgent. So he picked up mine. And there, right on the lock screen, was a message from Daniel. "Counting the days until I'm close enough to hold you whenever I want. I love you." When I came downstairs, Robert was sitting at the kitchen table, my phone in front of him, his face completely pale. "Who is Daniel?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. My entire world tilted. "Robert, Who is he? He repeated, louder this time. There was no point in lying anymore. He's someone I met at Sarah's. We've been talking and seeing each other. The next hour was the worst of my life. Robert raged, cried, demanded details I couldn't give him. He asked me how long it had been going on, if I loved this man, if I'd ever loved him. He asked if I was leaving him, if this was what I wanted. And the terrible truth was, I didn't know. Subscribe now and help us reach 5,000 subscribers. We need your support to keep sharing these real stories. 41 years, Robert kept saying. 41 years of marriage, and you throw it away for some man you barely know? It's not like that, I tried to explain, but how could I make him understand? How could I tell him that I didn't fall in love with Daniel to hurt him, but because I'd stopped feeling like myself in our marriage? How could I explain that I wasn't trying to throw away our life together, but desperately trying to find the parts of myself I'd lost along the way? I think you should leave, Robert finally said. Go stay with Sarah or get a hotel. I need time to think, and I can't do that with you here. I packed a bag and drove to a hotel, not the one where Daniel and I met, but a different one across town. I texted Daniel and told him what happened. He called immediately, wanting to come to me, but I asked him to give me space. That night, lying alone in a generic hotel room, I looked at my life from the outside. My marriage was probably over. My children would be devastated. My grandchildren might not understand. I'd become the woman I'd always judged, the one who had an affair and destroyed her family. But I'd also felt more alive in the past 6 months than I had in years. Was that selfish? Absolutely. But was it also human? Was it so wrong to want to feel passion and desire and connection again? Sarah called the next morning. Robert had told her everything. Mom, what were you thinking? She said, her voice a mixture of anger and hurt. How could you do this to Dad, to our family? I don't expect you to understand, I said quietly. You're right. I don't understand. My entire childhood you taught me about commitment and loyalty in marriage, and now you're having an affair? Who are you? That question has been haunting me for weeks now. Who am I? Am I the devoted wife who raised 3 children and built a life with a man she once loved? Or am I the woman who fell for someone new and felt like herself again for the first time in decades? Can I be both? Can I be neither? Robert texted me yesterday. He wants to try counseling. He says he still loves me, that our marriage is worth fighting for, that we can get past this if I'm willing to work on it. He wants me to cut off all contact with Daniel and come home. Daniel calls me every day. He says he understands this is my decision to make, but that he'll wait for me. He says he sees me in a way Robert never has, that he loves me for who I am, not who I'm supposed to be. He says we could have a real life together, that it's not too late to start over. My children are divided. Sarah thinks I should go back to Robert, work on my marriage, do the right thing. My son Michael isn't speaking to me at all. My youngest daughter Amy surprised me by saying she understands, that she's seen how lonely I've been for years, even if I didn't realize it myself. Join our community and help us hit 5,000 subscribers by clicking that subscribe button right now. Your support means everything. This morning, I went back to the house to pick up more of my things. Robert was there, and seeing him in the kitchen we'd shared for decades, I felt a wave of emotions I couldn't name. Grief, maybe. Nostalgia, but also relief. The absence of something I couldn't quite identify. I miss you, he said. I know I haven't been the best husband. I know I got comfortable and stopped really seeing you. But I want to try. I want to be better. Don't throw away 41 years for a man you barely know. But that's just it, I said. Daniel knows me better after 6 months than you have in years. He asks me questions. He listens to my answers. He makes me feel like I matter as more than just the person who keeps this family running. I can change, Robert said desperately. I can be that person for you. Can you? Or are you just saying that because you're afraid of losing me? Would you have tried to really see me if I hadn't met Daniel? Would you have noticed I was disappearing? He didn't have an answer for that. Daniel moved into his condo last week. He's invited me to see it, to stay with him, to start building something real. He's patient, but I know he won't wait forever. He wants to know if I'm choosing him, if I'm willing to risk everything for the possibility of real connection and passion and love. But choosing Daniel means blowing up my entire life. It means devastating Robert, even though our marriage has been slowly dying for years. It means my children might never forgive me. It means becoming the villain in my own story, the selfish woman who chose her own happiness over her family's stability. But staying with Robert means going back to the slow suffocation of a marriage that stopped feeding my soul years ago. It means pretending these past 6 months didn't happen, that I didn't discover there was still life and fire and desire in me. It means being safe, but never being fully alive again. I'm 63 years old. Maybe I'm too old for grand passions and new beginnings. Maybe I should be grateful for the stable, comfortable life I built and stop reaching for something more. Or maybe, just maybe, it's never too late to choose yourself. Please click subscribe and help us reach 5,000 subscribers. We're building something special here, and you're part of it. I have to make a decision. Robert wants an answer by the end of the week. Either I come home and commit to working on our marriage, or he's filing for divorce. Daniel is waiting to see if I'll take the leap with him, if I'll choose the uncertain possibility of a new life over the familiar disappointment of my old one. My children want me to do the right thing, but nobody can agree on what that is. My friends are horrified. My sister says she understands, but worries I'm making a mistake. Everyone has an opinion about what I should do, but none of them are living in my skin, feeling what I feel, wanting what I want. I thought I had my life figured out. I thought I knew who I was. Wife, mother, grandmother. Woman who put everyone else first. Woman who colored inside the lines and followed the rules and did what was expected. But then Daniel looked at me like I was still worth looking at. He touched me like I was still worth touching. He made me feel like I was more than just the roles I'd been playing for decades. And now I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know if choosing myself makes me brave or selfish. I don't know if